Welcome to Build Your Best Business. I'm your host, Eric Holtzclaw. Build Your Best Business focuses on the entrepreneurial journey. What does it take to successfully start, manage, grow, and exit a business? I have a longtime kind of friend and colleague, Stefanie Diaz. She is the founder of Women Only Entrepreneurs, which is a new venture for you, isn't it?
It is, yes.
So talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the last time, first of all, thank you so much for having me back on
Always
the
a
show.
pleasure.
Yeah, this is something new, different than what we talked about the last time. And Women Only Entrepreneurs is an event-based community of amazing female founders who are really looking for a tribe to connect with the right energy and, with obviously opening a lot of doors to new opportunities for them. It started very organically. I'll tell you the story in a little bit. Started very organically in the beginning of 2017, and the plan was just to host one amazing event for women. We ended up in 2017 hosting 3 events.
Wow.
And in 2018, we're really launching a full calendar of events, a formal community, and lots of resources for female founders, mostly in the Atlanta area.
Okay, so let's step back from that. I do want to understand where it came from, but
Yeah.
I've never asked the question, like, how did you end up where you are today? Like, did you wake up one day and say, hey, I just want to start coaching entrepreneurs, or were you doing something before that? Okay.
So I've always had an entrepreneurial bug. My father has owned his own business. He's a physician and has owned his own practice. And so I think that it's kind of in the blood. I went to school and ended up getting my MBA. And when I came out, I had the good fortune to land within a startup.
Okay.
So right away, I was working alongside like the owner and entrepreneur because there were 10 people on the staff. And so I really got a firsthand look at how a business owner runs a business, makes decisions. And he really groomed me on his thought process. He's still to this day one of the most strategic thinkers that I have ever come across. And so I really just absorbed everything that I could from that experience. And then I went on to, basically I had 3 different kind of, employee positions within different companies, but they were all small companies where I was, answering to the owner and entrepreneur.
Right.
And so really navigating decision-making at that level and supporting their decision-making at that level. And so that really gave me the bug. And then when I had another family member who was in a corporate job say, I really wish I could go out on my own, I said, well, I know a lot about running a business and I could probably help you with that. And so I did. We actually launched that as a partnership and that was my first company. And I was really, really excited to finally have the title of owner and to really, kind of dig my heels in that way.
Yeah.
And it was that experience of helping someone go from being in a corporate job that they weren't happy with to feeling totally in control, really gave me the inspiration for Mastermind Your Launch, which was my first solo venture. From there, I started, just coaching, hosting events for entrepreneurs. I got really involved in the tech community here in Atlanta, hosted my own radio show too, Mastermind Your Launch, which I just retired after 2.5 years. But we got that radio show up to over 130,000 listeners per episode, and it was amazing. But this year, over the last year, a lot has changed for me, both personally and professionally, and it really just all opened my eyes to the unique journey that women have and the unique support system that we can have when we come together in sisterhood and community. And so to that end, I knew I wanted to be doing something for women. It came very organically with that first WOE event. And now WOE is now my primary venture heading into 2018. So it's all just kind of been an evolution that I'm really happy to be a part of.
That's a good word. I was about to use the word pivot, but evolution is it may be a better word, right? So as things move along, you progress differently. I like in your background the fact that you spent time working with an entrepreneur, and that's often a thing that people are missing. So my background, I started at IBM, and then when I went to work for my first startup, I worked for a serial entrepreneur. So someone who had started a bunch of businesses, and he taught me a lot. I spent all this time with him. So you don't we see a lot of people converting directly to that, right? Like you get done with school and then you're going to become an entrepreneur, or you're going to skip it. And even if you are tutelaging at someone, that knows it, that can tell you the things that work and don't work, you pick so much up from that absorption.
You do.
Yeah.
Well, and at that point, like, they have the resources to support you as you learn.
Right.
If you are using your own resources and you're doing on-the-job training in your first startup,
on-the-job training.
It's very expensive. Yeah. And so, I think a lot of people they have an idea, they get super excited, they want to have 100% ownership. And I think that it does take I don't know the right word, but it takes a very wise person to say, how can I really learn the right way to do this? Who could I support that's already in action? What skills do I need before I take that leap, and how can I get those?
Well, and I rarely see the successful solopreneur. I rarely see it. The most successful are in pairs. So someone who does something very well, like on the outside, and another person who's on the inside. So understanding your strengths and skills and how you play off another person is part of it. And you may find in that process that you got to be your own person, right? You can't have anyone around you. So that, 100% ownership and being your own boss and all that's great. But at the same time, you've either got to have mentors around you, or you have to have someone who kind of helps to support the things you may not know how to do.
Absolutely. Yeah. Nothing shows you more the things that you don't know how to do than running a business.
Well, it's also an expensive lesson, right? Because you go there and you're like, oh, wow, that didn't work. And that was 6 months of my life.
Right. So you have to really be willing to delegate and bring in the team that you need where you're just not as strong.
Yeah.
And just, spend a few months in your business, you'll learn where are you procrastinating? It's because it's just not in your wheelhouse, so who can help you and just take that off of your plate?
Yeah.
Where are things falling through the cracks, or where are you just, you're just holding yourself back because whatever you're putting out there is at, 50, 60, 70% of what it could be if you just got a little bit of help.
Got a little bit of help, and it could admit it. And it's often, because once you become an entrepreneur, you're supposed to be an expert at everything. So if you tell somebody, oh, I can't do that, then you've admitted a failure, right? And people have a problem with that because I've told my family I'm going to go off and start this thing, and I'm not doing this part of it well, and now I got to go tell somebody that, right? You got to get beyond that.
You have to. I think that there is a lot of pride and unfortunately a lot of ego that comes along, when you can say, oh, I'm the CEO, you know?
Right.
But no one is expecting you to be perfect at everything. People just want you to be really good at whatever it is you say that you're really good at. And I mentioned that my dad is a doctor.
Yeah.
I actually spent about a year working in his practice. He's an amazing doctor. His bedside manner, like he really cares for his patients, and it's exceptional, and his patients love him. But there's a lot more to running a physician's practice.
There's the money part, right?
Yeah. And so I went in there. We implemented an EMR system for the medical records and the billing system, and so many things were changing with insurance reimbursements at that time. And it's like, if he needs to be focusing on his patients, then he really didn't have time to become an expert in ICD-10,
Right.
So it's important to say, like, I'm really good at this, but that is just one piece of a business, build your best business.
Right.
And that's just, it takes so many moving parts. And so, I think that people, it's ego. You got to let that go.
It's ego or fear.
And they're both.
Right?
They work hand in hand together. But yeah, once you start to let that go and let people in, and trust me, that's something, like I'm speaking from being at the place, I know very clearly. Right. And it's really been a challenge for me to open myself up. I call myself a recovering perfectionist. So I don't like to say, well, I'm not really good at this, you know? Yeah. But once I started to, and then all of a sudden these people that were really good at those things started to show up. And I'm like, oh, well, let's
you put it out there.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Now we can do something. Yeah. It just, really changed the game.
And so talk to me about, I've seen the Instagram photos and some of the stuff about the event. So Women Only Entrepreneurs WOE. So talk about how the events are constructed. Like how do they work? And then a little bit about maybe purpose and mission behind it.
Right. So the story behind WOE is one that's really interesting. So, I was doing Mastermind Your Launch, going through a lot that was really connecting me to women. I got invited to speak at my alma mater, Brenau University, which is a women's college, in October. Well, yeah, I guess more than a year ago, October of 2016. And so I got to, give a message that was just for those, women college students. I actually pitched to a local radio station, a women-focused radio show. And I was in this zone of like kind of, putting feelers out for these opportunities. I had an organization come to me and they say, hey, we're looking at doing like a women's event. Would you be the MC? And that's all that it was. So then I ended up, meeting with the organizer. I find out pretty quickly that they really didn't have much of an idea except for want to host a women's event.
Right.
And they were asking for my input. So start to get into this conversation, and I started to share some of the things that had happened to me that really were driving me to serve women. And from there, a different conversation happened, because I felt like I had really come to the other side of a lot of obstacles and challenges, and I had a completely new mindset and outlook and beautiful blessings that were falling into my life. But it took some work to get there. And they were like, they simply asked the question, so what would it take for you to help women come through that kind of transformation in an event? And that question is really what you see. The answer is WOE. So with WOE, to me, it is the symbolism of an awakening and inside an event. So we have the women come in, we have, networking opportunities, obviously. And then when we get started with what I call the show, because it's truly a production that we put on, we start off with a dance party. Because I grew up dancing. Dance has been my creative outlet. I still dance and perform today, and it's been really a part of my healing. And so we do a dance party. We have had heels or stilettos dancing. We have had salsa dancing. So we take like 15 minutes. The women learn a really quick snippet of choreography. And then if you've seen the photos online, you see like everyone is up and dancing. And there's a beautiful moment where we also take the room, we split it in half, and each side performs the choreography for the other while getting cheered on. And it's really symbolizing women supporting other women.
Yeah.
And so dance had to be a part of the program.
Right.
Then I said, I'd really love like a kind of super soul interview with a really amazing female entrepreneur, something that can, give the women inspiration, can give them some ideas and really create like a roadmap. Oh, that's what she did. And it would have to be with a woman who's very transparent about telling her story. And we've been fortunate to have some incredible interviews as a part of WOE that women are just like, they said that sometimes that's their favorite part, is just hearing this woman's story.
Well, we always relate to stories. So story
is
such an important thing. And so I'm going to take a commercial break. When we get back, we're going to talk a little bit about kind of how that ends and then what you're planning to do with it as we move into 2018.
All right.
Talking today with Stefanie Diaz. She's the founder of Women Only Entrepreneurs, WOE. You're listening to Build Your Best Business. I'm your host, Eric Holtzclaw. We'll be back in just a minute.
I'm here with Eric Holtzclaw, founder and CEO of Laddering Works. Eric, tell us about Laddering Works.
So Laddering Works is a company that helps other businesses in one of two ways.
Okay.
So your company is either growing and you're not exactly sure how to keep up. So you need to scale operations, maybe raise some money, those kind of things.
So growing too fast.
Growing too fast.
Okay.
Growing too fast. You got kind of structural, you walk in every day, there's a fire. You've been doing it longer than 3 years or 1,000 days, and you still feel like you can't step away from the business and take a vacation. So we help companies on that side. So sort of operational support, looking at their financing, seeing if there's a way that we can help them, get to the next level. Or you're a company that's not doing any marketing at all. So you are maybe stalled. Your business has gotten to a certain level. You make a certain amount of money every year, but you've never gotten above that. And we come in and build marketing structure. So both of them are operational at the end of the day. It's about creating a process and a way to approach it that's strategic. It's that owners don't often know how to do both of those. So they're really good at sales, which means they may need operational structure because they're out signing more customers than they know what to do with. Or they've built a beautiful product that's the best kept secret. And so they need somebody to come in and help them market that product. And so that's the kind of businesses we look for. We come in as a stopgap and we work with a company for somewhere around 12 to 18 months typically, solve those problems for them and leave them better than we found them. And we're back. You're listening to Build Your Best Business. I'm your host, Eric Holtzclaw. We're talking today with Stefanie Diaz. She is the founder of Women Only Entrepreneurs, WOE, and a longtime friend of the Build Your Best Business brand. Yeah. So we've been circling each other for several years now with different things that we've done. Yeah. So we were talking about the event itself, which was sort of the beginning of what you're now doing as a bigger initiative.
Right.
And you talked about the fact that you guys started at the beginning with dancing.
The dancing.
Which if I were participating, can't, but if I were, we would never record me.
Actually, let me just say,
my piano teacher's like, you need to relax. I'm like, that doesn't work in my world.
How do I relax?
I don't relax.
Let me just clarify. The title is Women Only Entrepreneurs. We always have men in the room.
Right. So have you had men in stilettos?
No, but we have had men dancing the dance.
Okay. Right.
We affectionately call them man-ambassadors.
Got it.
So we do have some man-ambassadors that come. Men are welcome to join. I mean, it's a community. Obviously, we're focused on the woman's journey, but definitely appreciate all of the support that we get from our man-ambassadors, and we will not turn that support away.
All right. Well, I want to see the first one in a set of stilettos. So.
I'll let you know when that happens. It will be documented.
And then you do a story. So someone tells a story.
Yeah, an incredible interview with a really amazing woman. And then we wrap the entire event with affirmations. And there is actually a moment where, because the energy at that point from the dancing, from the interview has just reached this high that we take a moment and everyone sitting in their chairs just closes their eyes. And it's a moment to just lock in that energy, lock in an intention. There's usually a higher theme around the evening, and just really lock in whatever's coming up for them, that they want to set that intention. Then they have that moment to do that, and then we wrap the show. And so that's our what I call like our marquee event. We have 4 of those on the calendar for 2018, and then we're going to have on the months that we don't have the big event, then we have meetups that are traveling to different businesses around Atlanta and offer just amazing networking and a chance for the community to stay in touch in between these bigger productions.
So traveling to different businesses, meaning you'll have a business hosted?
Yes. Yeah. So we have amazing sponsors, and that's an opportunity for our community to go into their office and congregate there. There's also some amazing women-owned businesses around Atlanta that we also want to partner with and bring our community to them too.
And that's really smart. Any business owner who is looking for a way to promote their business, kind of give a peek behind, closed doors of how their business works or what it looks like. We did that at several of the companies that I've had before, where we would bring in special interest groups that were part of what we focused on. And those were some of their best attended events and some of our better ways of promoting the business.
Yeah.
As kind of a way to get the story out there. So I like that idea of kind of that reach out. So.
Yeah. We actually have one coming up on December 12th. And in the WOE spirit of being fun and different, we're going to have a networking event or our meetup at Circle and Moon in Roswell, which is a gorgeous co-working space just for women.
Yep.
And so we're going to meet there. We'll have some wine, some snacks, and then we also have a female comic coming in to do a little bit of comic relief. So it's going to be an amazing time.
Yeah, Circle and Moon, where is that again?
Circle and Moon is on the square in Roswell.
Oh, yeah. It's above the soda.
Yes, Soda Salon.
Yes.
So, and if anyone wants to sign up for that or check it out, you can go to woeatl.com. That's WOEATL.com, and all of the information and a link to the Eventbrite page is there.
Okay. So, and then as you go in, you talk about the networking events, you talk about the kind of bigger events. What else are you considering with this new brand?
Yes. Oh, so much.
So much.
So much. So WOE right now is really focused in Atlanta, but I see it expanding nationally. And so in 2018, would love to take WOE on the road. I have some cities in mind. So stay tuned for that. We're putting together a WOE retreat for the fall of 2018, where a more, smaller group of women can take a few days. It's going to be driving distance from Atlanta, and we are going to, kind of have an experience that's part, really business building and all of those skills, business planning, but then also, recharge. We'll have just like soulful, like get centered, get connected, yoga, meditation, lots of things like that. So
Okay.
I'm excited.
That sounds like fun. And so talk to me about some of the things in the ecosystem. I'm good friends with Lisa Calhoun, who started like the first women's angel and venture capital fund because she couldn't find one. So she's like, I'll start one. And Jennifer Baudet tells stories from the ATDC of her history and her running ATDC now. And what's still missing in the ecosystem? What do you think's not working for women that are, thinking about being entrepreneurs? Like what can we do better?
So what I really am looking to address with WOE that I'm not seeing is a more authentic and soulful approach. With Mastermind Your Launch, it's been a lot about the, sales and marketing and the how-to and, 1, 2, 3, and here's the framework. And I still, offer those things through Mastermind Your Launch. But WOE really comes at it from, there's an inner journey that we were talking about, just like we were talking about in the first segment with, being able to drop your ego and understand that you have skills that you're not the best at. There's a big inner journey that comes along with being an entrepreneur. And I think a lot of people get into entrepreneurship for great reasons, but they do not understand the bigger task that they are putting on their plate. I am a 100% completely different person today than I was 3 years ago. And that's because I chose to be an entrepreneur. And what I thought I was doing was reinventing my career. But what happened was I reinvented my life. And that comes with a lot of exciting opportunities, but it also comes through some challenges too. And that's kind of the double meaning behind WOE, is really giving a nod to the fact that if you want to be an entrepreneur, you're going to hit some woes. You're going to hit some bumps along the road. Don't be scared of them. They're there to show you the way. Embrace them, and you're going to become a different person because of them. Right. And so it's really coming at it from that angle. What support do you need there? And you definitely need a community around you the entire way. So that's really where we kind of have found our niche.
Yeah.
And there are other organizations that are doing amazing things, providing lots of resources, especially to women. But WOE really comes at it from that soulful and authentic point of view.
Yeah. Well, thinking about it from the perspective of, the overall changes it's making for you, because the choice to do entrepreneurship is not the problem I have with it. The reason I started the show in 2011 was because I heard people wanting to become entrepreneurs, and I'm like, it's really not that easy.
Yeah.
Like, this is not what you see. It became this rock star status,
right?
And so few people will be successful with it, and it does absorb your time. I mean, I talk about first 3 years, first 1,000 days, you're going to be in it 25 hours a day.
Oh yeah.
And it's not going to be fun.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if it's like that after 3 years, you're doing something wrong, right? It's time to start thinking about it differently.
Yes.
So giving people, I think, permission to be in that place.
Well, and I think at the end of the day, it's about being happy.
Yeah.
So why do you want to be an entrepreneur? And is that really what's going to make you happy? And if you're unhappy, in your job, then I really want you to explore the whys. But it's not a one size all, kind of solution.
Yeah.
You really have to
that's a
find
really
out.
important thing. Like, if you're unhappy in your job, that doesn't mean you should go start a business.
Right. Yeah. So it's really about knowing yourself.
Yeah.
There's a deep sense of knowing yourself, and you'll find it if you become an entrepreneur. That's for sure.
Well, unpack that for me. What do you think makes you find that?
Well, I think it is the woes. It's the challenges. I think it's also awareness and the ability to face those challenges, and honestly, being honest with yourself. That is what it is. And sometimes it takes, going really deep. I mean, I didn't think we were going to talk about this on the show, but I have done a lot of inner work, over the last, and this isn't just because I became an entrepreneur and it drove me to a therapist, which could happen though.
It can happen.
Yeah, but it just shows you so much of who you are, what you're made of, and where you have blocks, what you need to work through and settle. And so I think that's going to come up in life though.
Right.
Whether you're an entrepreneur or whether, whatever situation that you're in, if you find yourself just not at peace with where you're at in life, then there's a reason. And if you're brave enough and honest enough to explore that, because a lot of people run away from it, they numb, they decide, I don't want to go there. But if you're brave enough to take that journey, then you'll find what is the true answer to what you're looking for. And maybe it's that you want to be in control of your own business. Maybe it's that you want to, exit a relationship. Maybe it's that you want to, reinvent your career here. It could be a number of different things. So it's a journey.
And so what's funny is that, I started this show in 2011 to find out what was missing in the entrepreneurial and small business ecosystem. And I expected to find that it would be like finances or support or whatever. And what I learned is that the choice to be an entrepreneur falls into two categories. You're a rectify entrepreneur or you're a magnify entrepreneur.
Ooh, explain.
So you're either rectifying something from your past through the establishment of a business, or you're magnifying it. And so you're thinking about that and knowing what the difference is. Different kinds of businesses come from those different backgrounds.
Right.
And so few people, they start a business and think it's for freedom or to get out of a job or whatever, but really they're trying to manifest some correction.
Right. Or run away from something.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, bury themselves into something that they feel like they have control over, where maybe they didn't before. So there's some really interesting tendrils in that.
It's so much of an inner game,
right.
more than people realize or want to admit sometimes.
Well, and I think, if we talk about gender differences, women are more likely to spend the time to do that exploration. Because I work with a lot of businesses where I start off on either the marketing or team building side, and ultimately I'm working on the business owner. Ultimately that's where we are, right?
Yeah.
And it takes a long time for me to get a male to admit why they won't follow the rules or take care of the details or whatever, than it would be working with women. They have they're more open to it.
True.
So I like the fact that you've given them an outlet to have that conversation.
Me too.
I'm not exactly sure how to make that work for men, because
But you know what? I think that honestly, with what I've seen in the news, that work with men is some of the most important work that could happen over the next generation.
True. And I think a lot of that comes from, it's the narcissism that comes with wanting to be famous and some of those things that, that
so much ego
power,
and and the desensitizing, you're not supposed to cry. It's, men don't cry and all of that. I won't go into all of it. There's Lewis Howes has a book out right now called The Mask of Masculinity. And I love that there's a man out there talking about the emotional journey of men,
right.
and how masculinity is, playing a role in how men are, showing up or not showing up in their own lives.
Yeah.
And so I think you hit it right on the head. I think, I love working with women. That's my lane, but I am really cheering on the men who are there to support the men in this.
Yeah. Yeah. Because that's it's going to be a different way to get to that.
Well, the shift is happening. These events that are coming out publicly right now, the Matt Lauer announcement, things like that, that is happening for a reason, because there is a shift that is occurring right now. And so I think people can either resist it and hide, or they can start to explore why this is happening and what their role is going to be in
yeah. And what I run into, because I do, when I spend time with companies, I'm helping them either work on marketing and maybe doing team building, but I end up in these deep, dark conversations in a conference room with an owner about why.
The real why.
Yeah. Who told you at 7 years old that you have to do everything? Who told you that? And you have to get that out of your head. And when I'm working with a woman entrepreneur, she is way more open to that conversation in general, 9 times out of 10.
Yeah.
And a guy just shuts down on me.
Right.
Like he doesn't want to have the I'm like, we gotta have the conversation, man.
You have to
like,
go
we
there.
can't get you past it unless like you have to accept it. We may not be able to change it, but we can put things in place. And it is a tougher conversation, right?
Right.
And so it's an interesting work to be done.
I have some
Work to be
resources
done.
for you.
Interesting work to be done. So
Yes.
we're talking today with Stefanie Diaz, founder of Women Only Entrepreneurs, WOE, which you can find out more information on her at woeatl.com.
Yes.
And of course, it'll be in our show notes and everywhere else. Thanks so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
And good luck now with your adventure. You'll have to keep us updated.
I will.
All right. You've been listening to Build Your Best Business. I'm your host, Eric Holtzclaw. Join us next week when we bring you the next story of someone building their own business. And until then, what are you going to do to build your best business?